Okay, here is the second half of the assignment for tonight. This is Thursday night. And what you're going to be doing here is you're just going to be writing equations of a line with given information. Some of the lines you'll be just given the y-intercept and the slope. Some lines you'll be given the equation of another line it's parallel to or perpendicular to. Just remember that whenever you write the equation of any line, it always needs to be in the form, the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. You're always looking for the slope. You need to know the slope, and you need to know the y-intercept. So every equation, these are the two pieces of information you need. So that way you can put it in this form. So let's look at this first example up here. It says it passes through the point 0, -4, and it has a slope of -2. So right away it tells us the slope. So if I were to write my equation in slope-intercept form, I would write y equals -2x, and then the second part, the plus b part, I need to think about what my y-intercept is. And remember, y-intercept is where your line crosses the y-axis. And anytime your line crosses the y-axis, that is your y-intercept. So if it passes through the point 0, -4, we're going to examine this point. 0, -4 is on the y-axis. So this 0, -4 is the y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis? It crosses it at -4. So that is your y-intercept. That is your b in your equation. So you'd write the y equals -2x right here and then write -4. And that's because the x is 0 here. So that means our y-intercept is -4 right there. So let's look at another equation, and that would be the answer. That's what you're going to write. Let's look at this next one. It passes through the point 0, 6, and it has a slope of -6/5. So this time it told us our slope again. So I'm going to start by writing y equals, my slope is -6/5, so that goes next, -6/5 x. And again, the second part is the y-intercept. And so I look at the point it crosses through. And again, my x is 0 and the y is 6. This means that this point where the line crosses through is actually on the y-axis. And so this 6 right here is my y-intercept. So I'm going to write +6 after that. Okay? So those are ones where it just gave you the slope and a point. Now it's going to give you, now I'm going to do some where they're going to be parallel. So it passes through 0, 1, and is parallel to this line, y equals -2x minus 4. So remember, every time you're writing the equation of a line, you need slope and you need y-intercept. So I always find my slope first. And if it's parallel to this line, then I look at this line and I think, okay, parallel lines have the same exact slope. So if it's parallel to y equals -2x minus 4, what is the slope of this line? The slope of this line is the -2. So the line I want to write the equation for is also going to have that slope. So I write y equals -2x. Now it has a different y-intercept because it passes through this point. So I look at that point, and again, it has a 0 for my x, which means that this point, this whole point, is on the y-axis, so the y-intercept is the 1. So I'm going to write +1. And so this line, if I were to graph this line and this line up here, that would be, these two lines would be parallel because they have the same slope. So what we were looking for from this information that they gave us, this second line, was just the slope. You're going to be looking, find the slope. If it's parallel, it's going to be the same thing. So let's do that again with this equation. It passes through the point 0, 4 and is parallel to the line y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So again, every time you do this, you're looking for your slope. So if it's parallel to this line, that means it needs to have the same slope. The slope of this line is the 1/2. So my new line is also going to have a slope of 1/2. So I'm going to write 1/2 x. Then I go and I find the y-intercept. Remember, it's not going to be the same as this line. It's going to be a new one. So I go back to the point it crosses through. And again, and pretty much all of them today are going to give you the y-intercept right away in the point. But the x is 0, which means that this point is on the y-axis, which means my y-intercept is 4. So I'm going to write +4. And then you can see again, this line, our new line that we wanted to write, and the line that they gave us have the same slope, so they're parallel. Let's look at another one. And this time it passes through 5, negative 3, and is parallel to the y-axis. So if it is parallel to the y-axis, then that means, remember, on a coordinate plane, the y-axis is the vertical one, right? So if it's parallel to this line, then our new line, if it's parallel to the y-axis, then our new line is going to be vertical, which means if it's vertical, it has no slope, and it is an x equals line. So if it goes through this point, 5, negative 3, and our line is vertical, then that means this point needs to be on this vertical line, which means it's not there, because 5, negative 3 would be like this way. 5 and then down 3. That point right here that it gave us would be right here. So our line would be going through that point vertically, which means it's an x equals line because it has to be vertical because it's parallel to this axis, and it's equal to whatever the point is right here. And so if this is 5, then this is 5. So this is x equals 5. That's the equation of this line. So if it's parallel to the x-axis, then it would be a horizontal line, and it would be y equals whatever the point is right here. Okay? So if I had rearranged this and said it passes through the point 5, negative 3, and is parallel to the x-axis, then it would then be y equals negative 3. Okay? I think you have a couple of those. Let's look at this next one. And this time we're going to be doing perpendicular lines. And it says it passes through the point 0, negative 5, and is perpendicular to the line y equals 3x plus 1. So again, the first thing we look for is our slope. And the slope of any perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. So the slope of this line is 3. So my new slope isn't going to be 3. It needs to be the opposite, which is negative, because this one's positive. And the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. So my new slope is negative 1/3. And I write x. Go back to my point. Again, it has an x of 0, and so it crosses the y-axis at negative 5, which makes my y-intercept negative 5. And so that's the equation of this line. And so these two lines, this one over here and my new one, are perpendicular, opposite reciprocal slopes. And we look at the point that they give us to tell us what the y-intercept is going to be. Okay, let's do another one of those. I think this is my last one. Yes, it is. It passes through the origin and is perpendicular to this line, y equals negative 3/4 x plus 6. So again, if it's perpendicular, it needs to have an opposite reciprocal slope. This slope is negative 3/4, so my new slope is going to be positive. I need to flip over my fraction to make it reciprocal, and so my new slope is 4/3, positive 4/3 x. And I want it positive because remember opposite. All right, and if it passes through the origin is the point 0, 0. So if it goes through the origin, then the y-intercept is 0. So 4/3 x plus 0, and you can actually just leave that as y equals 4/3 x. And those two lines, this one and this one, would be perpendicular. I do think you have one where it mentions the origin. Just remember, if it passes through the origin, then your y-intercept is 0, and that's where the b is. Okay, I think that probably covers everything, so give them a try, and if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'd be happy to help. See you guys tomorrow.